Welcome back to Reddit R Us. How did you catch people getting laid at work? Story 1. I worked at Whole Foods. A man and wife worked together, and the wife was 6+ months pregnant. One day, the wife goes out to their shared car during a lunch break, and lo and behold, inside their car, her husband is just intensely cuddling with another Whole Foods employee, someone much younger. I've never seen the entire store come together like a family as they did that day in support of the pregnant wife. The husband and wife stayed together against everyone's advice, and the young lady he cheated with quit work. First off, the husband is beyond messed up for cheating on his pregnant wife, knowing that she'll be less likely to leave because she's already 6 months pregnant. I truly believe he guilt-tripped her into staying with him for the sake of their child. Secondly, the sicko probably wanted his wife to catch him because he was doing it in their shared car without even parking it elsewhere. Disgusting behavior. Story 2. Two coworkers at a small family restaurant got caught passionately hugging in the bathroom when the owner literally opened the door on them because they didn't lock it. The girl was bent over the sink and they were watching themselves in the mirror. He slammed the door shut, and when they came out a few minutes later, panicky and shamefaced, he yelled at them, "If you're gonna do that, you clock out first," while the rest of us laughed our butts off. This better not have been in Alabama. Story 3. I plant trees for a living and hire over 30 20-somethings and send them into remote areas for days at a time. Often I set up trail cameras to track progress and get cool time-lapse shots and also wildlife pics. On more than a few occasions, I've seen photos of staff walking off together and one glorious head shot perfectly framed. I delete the photos and don't make a big deal of it. If it doesn't impact their tree numbers, I just consider them on break. Most of the time they are paid per tree planted, so it's up to them how much time they want to plant versus have fun. They're planting a different sort of seed. Story 4. I was a whitewater raft guide 10 years ago. We would party at the area where we stacked our rafts at night at our boathouse. We slept in tents nearby. One thing led to another, and my girlfriend at the time and I got it on top of a stack of rafts, under the stars, quite drunk. The boathouse manager lived in a small apartment with an upstairs window directly adjacent to this stack of rafts. We would be introduced to our tours by him each day with fun little anecdotes like, "This is James, best river guide west of the Mississippi." So the next day, after saying nothing to us, he introduces us and goes, "Okay, now your guide is going to be Chelsea, the screamer," with a pointed look at us. She looked like she saw a ghost, then laughed it off. No further repercussions beyond the call out and a bit of laughs. It was a laid back environment though. For the price of a little embarrassment, I would say the experience was worth it, and you can always have a laugh when looking back on it. Story 5. Worked retail in college. We were in the stockroom, clothes mostly still on, when the shift manager came in. I had her up against some fitted shirts. Me and her were written up and sent home. They interviewed us separately the next day. We lied about not having a relationship so they wouldn't transfer one of us. Looking back, I'm actually pretty surprised we weren't fired. Good employees in retail can get away with a lot. Years ago when I worked at a retail job, I could be a little jerk, argumentative, did things how I wanted to do them, etc. I think the only reason I never got in trouble is because I was one of the few employees that always showed up on time. My work was good, and I had positive customer feedback. I think most managers would rather deal with an employee that is a pain in the butt but does the job well. Story 6. There was a girl who slept with some employees for pay. When caught, they transferred her to another building and took some minor disciplinary actions against all involved. Then she did it again at the new building, so they transferred her back. A couple years had passed, so no old clients in her area. Then she did it again. Third time was the final straw to get her fired. This woman was taking home a 2 days paycheck for 1 day worth of work. That's crazy. Story 7. A couple was fired for doing the deed in their car in the parking lot. Our company was one of the biggest CCTV manufacturers in the world. I designed camera control systems. Our parking lot was used to test product and had one of the highest camera per square foot ratio of any parking lot anywhere. Our cameras had amazing zoom capabilities. This just never occurred to these two brainiacs. Management insisted that we delete all footage. Story 8. I used to work in fast food, and a manager got caught intensely hugging with an employee. They were going to just transfer him, but they realized that the employee was 17. The manager was 24, so he was fired. The employee quit because they thought it would keep the manager from being fired. If the age of consent was 18 in this state, that's a big no-no. Story 9. I worked in retail. The shift supervisor was hitting on a new cashier all week. They passionately hugged in the storage closet. He told me right away. We both looked her way and her face got really red, but she kept a smile for the rest of the day. Her boyfriend picked her up at the end of the shift. He was her usual ride since she didn't have a car. A few days later, the shift supervisor was fired because she filed a complaint and the store manager said there was security camera footage of both them going into the closet together. A couple weeks later, the shift supervisor who was let go called me to ask if I would be a witness because she also filed criminal charges against him. I told him no because I honestly didn't know enough about the situation to come to his defense. Just an ugly situation all around. Girl cheated on her boyfriend, shift supervisor potentially was abusing his position of power, and they had to go to court against each other. Yikes. Story 10. Worked at a Wendy's when I was a teenager. Just me at the register, the manager and another girl in her early 20s at the drive-thru, another guy in his 20s was on the grill, and an older woman at the sandwich station. It's almost closing time. The manager is in the office doing whatever it is that they do. Woman at sandwiches starts doing dishes, and the other two are outside taking a quick smoke break. So I start cleaning up the dining area and take the trash out to the dumpster. The dumpsters are enclosed around a fenced gate to keep pests and animals out. As I approach the dumpster, I heard someone whisper, "Shh, shh," followed by a quick "what?" I am now aware that these two people are not actually smoking and probably doing something my 16-year-old eyes don't want to see, especially since it's my coworkers. So I stand there for a moment figuring out what to do as I'm tired and ready to go home. Then without a second thought, I heave the trash bag over the gate and yell out, "Throw the trash in the dumpster for me when y'all are done." I walk back inside to finish cleaning up. The two lovebirds walk in about 5 minutes later and do whatever they can to avoid eye contact with me. As I'm heading to my truck, I check the dumpsters to see if they threw the bag in the bin. To my surprise, they actually did. I hope they washed their hands after that. Story 11. They were a married couple but both employees. They got caught screwing at the Christmas party. Nothing happened for a few weeks. Then they both got fired because they were collecting the gym membership stipend but couldn't show proof of attendance. Pretty sure that was the first and only time the company enforced the stipend rule. Story 12. At my old job in a sheet metal factory, we caught two elderly employees doing the nasty in the back of a Suburban. We'd long suspected it because they went from being extremely close to kind of trying not to be seen talking that much. Also, because it was a job that had unlimited OT, they'd both show up at the same time and leave at the same time, even though we didn't have set hours. It was wild because both his sons and her sons worked for the same company. His wife would show up and bring food for the whole staff in our department too. And you could see the mistress's guilt whenever his wife was there because she'd always leave. After we caught them, we kept our mouths shut about it, but they both started being really nice to us all. The woman would bring us all lunch every day. Story 13. I worked with a guy at my previous job who was a night security guard for the main facility. Very smart guy, but had tons of self-destructive behavior when he was doing well. He was caught on camera entering an office with a night janitor, and she confessed that they had been intensely cuddling at work. When confronted, he admitted to the deed with her, and they said that he would be terminated. He agreed, but first asked them to show him where it explicitly said in the company policy that doing it on company grounds was prohibited. He had already reviewed the company policy and knew he had a claim of potential wrongful termination, and they did as well. Soon after, we had an updated corporate policy release with some clarification on what was considered appropriate work behavior. The guy actually stayed with the company for years and went on to work in manufacturing, where he was terminated for more self-destructive behavior. Bro is playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. Story 14. I was caught by my boss's boss, going at it with my boss. He threw his binder down on the ground to get our attention. Then he left and we broke apart, then just finished the shift. I was so sure we were both going to get fired. I was a nervous wreck the whole day. In the end, he decided not to tell anyone and not to just fire us. He just asked me if it was consensual, which it was, and lectured me on how inappropriate that was. Obviously, I agree. He also said he wished us a happy relationship. Scariest and most awkward day at work of my life. Never again. I see the supervisor sometimes and I know it's obviously something we'll never forget. Dang, what a dude. Making sure you are not being taken advantage of and letting you off with a binder drop. Respect. Story 15. Got caught by my brother plowing a coworker in the back of our family-owned restaurant. He played it cool for a few years until we were talking about it at lunch, and I casually mentioned I know he caught us. That was the day I found out he was doing the same thing with the same girl. Story 16. I used to work at a high-end restaurant for a few years, so I got a few stories. For instance, one time after closing up shop, we were getting ready to go home when I heard a noise in one of the broom closets. Found 2 customers getting intimate in it after we'd closed down. Another time, I walked into our walk-in freezer after we'd mostly closed to do a quick inventory, only to find one of the waitresses getting destroyed by one of the other chefs. I laughed and said, "Don't let me interrupt, I'm just counting inventory." Another time, one of our corporate chefs got fired for whacking off in the manager's office. That was pretty neat. But the best one by far has to be the time we were closing up shop, and this waitress and cook kinda had a little thing going on, and the whole kitchen staff knew about it. So one day we saw them walk into our outdoor cooler and shut the door behind them. Someone mentioned it to me, and naturally I told everyone still there. We all waited outside the door and listened to see if we could hear any sounds. We did. So when they finished, they walked out only to be greeted by the entire closing staff shouting, "Effin' finally!" Oh, they were so embarrassed. It was great. Story 17. I used to work at the county jail and we hired a new officer that worked the cage. The cage control room is semi-private and has controls of unlocking doors so no one can walk in without the cage operator pushing a button. She was in an open marriage and put out for just about anyone. She got caught when 8 officers got the clap. A few spouses who got the clap from their cheating husbands complained to the sheriff and she was fired. Demotions, suspensions, and firings of other male officers followed after an internal investigation. When 8 people or more get the clap, it's called a round of applause, am I right? This is exactly like that one Tennessee cop who was caught doing the nasty with all the other cops recently. It's probably more common than we think. Story 18. Not necessarily on duty, but at work. Used to work on cruise ships and crew occasionally get cabin inspections. My girlfriend/coworker and I were doing the deed in the morning when we hear a knock and the phrase "cabin inspection" in an authoritative British accent which we knew was the ship's captain. I managed to grab all my clothes and run to the restroom. My girlfriend straightened out the room and managed to stall the captain and prevent him from checking the bathroom. She told me that I forgot to use protection on the floor and she managed to step on them to hide them with her bare feet. I owed her big time. Story 19. Worked at a bank branch a long time ago, and one of the financial advisors was pregnant with twins, and everyone was super happy for her. Apparently, she had been trying for several years with her husband, and it finally worked. Fast forward to her last day at work before her maternity leave, we decided to throw her a small goodbye party at the branch employees' room. The husband was present as well. 15 minutes passed, and suddenly the husband decided it was time for a toast, and that apparently he made a lovely video for his wife to show her how grateful he was, and insisted on showing us the video. So the manager brought him his laptop and plugged in a USB so we could watch it. The video, taken from a hidden cam in their bedroom, was of the advisor cheating with another guy with sound and everything. We were all so shocked. The video played for a good minute until the manager closed his laptop and basically sent everyone home. The advisor was crying her life out. The husband had this evil smile on his face, took his USB stick out of the laptop and said, "See you in court," and left. Now that's some sweet, sweet revenge. The husband utterly embarrassed the wife for cheating on him and got the proof, which he can use in court. I'm guessing the babies were not the husband's, sheesh. Imagine if he didn't catch his wife, he would be stuck raising kids that might have not even been his. Story 20. Circa 2002. We hired a new guy, and as he was relocating from across the country, he asked for a job for his wife and we accommodated. They ran the customer-facing aspect of our shop, which included a storefront that was only open a few hours a week. Because there was a cash box in that room, it was very secure. The owner's son had a reputation of raiding it whenever he needed a heroin fix, so new doors, new locks, two-way mirrors, etc. Routinely, we would call into the room to get things from them and the phone would go unanswered. They assured us they were up to nothing, but we heard noises a few times, so I played a hunch. I was IT and one day, coming out of the server room, passed them in the hall and she asked what I was doing in there, and I fabricated a security system that no one bothered checking. I explained I was in charge of the tapes and updates, that due to robbery and theft, we had hidden cameras in every room, including their office. I hadn't looked at it in months and was restoring the system to look at some stuff from the past weeks. Fast forward about 20 minutes, they are tearing the room apart, looking for a camera. You can hear her sobbing through the door, shocked at what I have on tape. They got a warning. I pointed into a vent as a heads up for the camera and warned it got the whole room. We eventually fired them both. Story 21. Sort of work, but more like university/work. We worked as lab assistants/TA kind of roles. Every Wednesday night, after we finished grading assignments in the classroom section of the lab, her and I would make love on one of the desks. There were 10 desks and 10 weeks left in the semester, so we thought we would take advantage of the privacy and give us an excuse to grade everything as fast as possible and do it on a different desk every week. The last week, we were in the middle of it on the last desk. The professor shows up with food, thanking us for being so much more dedicated than all her other assistants in all her years teaching. She sees us both in naughty positions. Professor says, well, this explains a lot. Don't get pregnant. She left the food and left, locking the door on the way out. We finished, ate the food, and made love again. Best professor ever? Not even a question. Thanks for watching and be sure to like, comment, and subscribe.